look at the keys in your hand. They feel heavy, solid, and real. But what if I told you they are becoming a digital illusion? Right now, across every suburb in the country, an invisible sold sign is being hammered into front yards by hands you will never see. You aren't losing your home to a bank. You are losing the very concept of ownership to a ghost. Welcome to Finance Unfolded. Today, we pull back the curtain on the $100 trillion heist of your reality. Why has the simple act of buying a home become a modern odyssey? If you think it's just inflation or supply and demand, you're only looking at the smoke, not the fire. The real predator in the room is the institutional buyer. We are talking about giants like Vanguard and Invitation Homes. In the past, when you went to an open house, you were competing against another family who wanted a backyard for their kids. Today, you are competing against a multi-billion-dollar AI algorithm sitting in a server room in Manhattan. These firms aren't looking for a place to live. They are looking for permanent yield. They have turned the housing market into a high-frequency trading floor. Imagine an algorithm that scans 50,000 listings per second across the country. It identifies a modest 3-bedroom home in a middle-class suburb, analyzes the school district, the local job market, and the projected rent growth before you've even had time to book a viewing or call your bank. That algorithm has placed an all-cash offer 20% above the asking price, with zero contingencies. You can't compete with a machine that doesn't need to sleep, doesn't need a mortgage, and has an endless supply of cheap capital. In cities like Atlanta, Charlotte, and Phoenix, institutional investors have swallowed up nearly 30% of the single-family inventory. This is the birth of digital feudalism. These companies don't just want to sell you a house. They want to be your landlord forever. They are systematically removing the starter home from the market, forcing an entire generation into a rentership trap. When a single corporation owns a significant portion of a zip code, they gain the power of a monopoly. They don't just follow the market rent. They are the market. They are turning the basic human need for shelter into a recurring revenue stream for their shareholders. All while you pay for the privilege to exist on land they've effectively colonized. Every dollar you pay in rent is a brick in their fortress and a nail in the coffin of your financial independence. Who actually owns your mortgage? If you think it's the friendly local bank with the marble columns on the corner, you are living in a fantasy. Your debt has been sliced, diced, packaged, and sold a dozen times before you even made your first payment. We have entered the era of shadow banking, a massive, opaque web of private equity firms, hedge funds, and non-bank lenders that operate in the dark, outside the reach of traditional banking regulations. This system is a sophisticated wealth extraction machine. They use a predatory tactic known as equity stripping. For decades, the home was the primary vehicle for middle-class wealth. It was your safety net. But the shadow banks have figured out how to turn that net into a noose. They encourage you to treat your home like a credit card, pushing home equity lines of credit, HELOCs, and complicated refinancing schemes with low initial rates. They want you to extract the value of your home today so they can own your labor tomorrow. But it gets deeper. These institutions are creating mortgage-backed securities 2.0. They are betting against the very homeowners they lend to. By controlling the servicing rights to your loan, they can manipulate the terms, add hidden fees, and make it nearly impossible to ever truly pay off the principal. The house you think you own is actually just an ATM for Wall Street. They take the liquid cash, and you are left with the liability of the decaying walls, and a debt that will likely outlive your ability to work. You aren't building equity. You are managing a liability for a landlord you've never met. Ownership has become an expensive illusion, a holographic image of a dream that was sold off in the 2008 ruins, and rebuilt as a more efficient, more brutal trap designed to keep you in a state of permanent debt servitude while they harvest the interest. So, is the game over? Have we already lost the right to own our lives? The ghost owners rely on one thing more than anything else: your silence and your financial illiteracy. They want you to believe that the subscription economy is inevitable. They want you to be comfortable owning nothing and being happy. But the path to survival starts with a radical financial counterstrike. The first step is a brutal shift in perspective. You must stop viewing your home and your life as a source of equity for consumption. Your primary mission is to deleverage. In an era of shadow banks, debt is not a tool. It is a GPS tracker for your wealth. Protect your equity as if your freedom depends on it, because it does. Every cent of interest you pay to a shadow lender is fuel for their expansion. Second, you must break the subscription lifestyle. If a product requires a monthly fee to function, or if you don't have physical possession of it, you don't truly own it. In the coming economic volatility, tangible assets, things you can touch, hold, and defend are the only things that won't be deleted by an algorithm or seized by a distant creditor. Third, we must rebuild independent wealth. This means moving capital away from the giant institutions that are actively outbidding you for your own neighborhood. Support local credit unions, invest in private local businesses, and look for land or assets that sit outside the shadow banking grid. The goal is to create a fortress that is too expensive or too complicated for a hedge fund to bother with. At Finance Unfolded, we don't just report on the collapse. We provide the blueprint for the reconstruction. The ghost owners are powerful, but they are not invincible. They thrive in the shadows, but they crumble under the light of a population that refuses to be rented. It's time to stop playing their game and start building our own. The American dream was unjust, lost it, was hijacked by architects of greed who hoped you read too tired to notice. But the fact that you're rewatching this means you've already taken the first step toward reclaiming your sovereignty. The keys are still on the table, but the clock is ticking. What is your next move? Are you going to keep paying for a life you don't own? Or are you going to start building your own fortress? Tell me in the comments, do you feel like a homeowner? Or who's the high-priced tenant in a corporate world? And if you want to understand the deep ideological war that allowed this to happen, you must watch our deep dive on capitalism versus socialism right now. Don't just watch the game, learn the rules so you can break them. Keep your eyes on the money and your hands on your assets. I'll see you in the next investigation.